Welcome to the Skillwork Forum. As a reminder, this podcast exists to help leaders and companies looking for an innovative solution to help solve skilled labor challenges across the country. I'm Tim. I'm joined with my partner, Brett from Skillwork. Today, we're going to be talking about something near and dear to our hearts, and that's namely the steps that companies are taking to bridge the skilled labor talent gap. And now as we're getting to the point where we're beginning to open back up, this topic is going to become much more prevalent in the forefront of people's minds again. And Brett, as you know, statistics continue to show that there's this huge gap and challenge that exists for companies that depend on skilled craftsmen to make their business run. It's, whether you're in construction, manufacturing, we have transportation, specialty services, or anything in between. The failure to look at and try to solve and get ahead of this issue is going to really impact your business ability to grow, become efficient, and close that gap as we move into this next period of business life.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Like you said, Tim, this is a subject matter that we study closely with our business, and that are mostly in what we do, and we don't normally get into a ton of that. We'll get into that a little bit today, but like you said, it's kind of nice to at least be thinking about some of these subjects. Prior to 1st of March, early into last year, this was, if you asked any business leader what their number one concern was for their business in this booming economy, was the talent gap. Could we find the talent to implement our plans? That was number one on everybody's list. Now then we entered into a little different season and things changed. But it's as we start to reopen country, a lot of states now heading into phase 2, and we're prayerful that it will head right on towards phase 3 and so forth. This subject, I think, will quickly rise back, to the top of a lot of companies' biggest concern. We see it. There's no doubt that companies recognize the issue in the talent gap, specifically for us in the skilled trade, which I would argue is probably the single largest gap that we see happening right now. Obviously companies, they could use more quality salespeople or more IT, there's gaps in that talent as well. There's a lot of competition for it, but in ours specifically, it's in this space. So, specifically in that, what you see companies, the pattern over the last, I'd say probably 10 years, has been that HR departments have now really also become talent search groups. In the old days, in HR, in the old days aren't that long ago, an HR generalist, they would onboard, they work through insurance, all the typical things. Now every HR department has expanded. I shouldn't say every, but a lot of HR companies, especially in medium to large companies, all now have a talent manager, team members that are basically in-house recruiters. And the thing that's interesting, Tim, is, we've read some stuff that says companies are basically going to invest more overhead dollars in the HR talent search space with really the acceptance that they don't expect to move the dial much.
Yeah, that is an irony of it, that they are spending more on average, anywhere from, I think it's 8 to 10, upwards of 12%, adding overhead, and how companies hate to add to overhead costs. on their HR specifically for this, and those same people, those same respondents said that they fully expect less results, poorer results than they have now. So spending more for less results doesn't sound like a recipe for success to me. I'm not sure we'd get very far selling that here. And the other thing that's going to continue to add to this, Brett, is this, the coming off of COVID, and where we know in some of the industries that we support, many at-risk workers are in that 60 plus category that were already in that high risk pool that companies were looking at, that many of these were in the next 1 to 3 to 5 years, we're going to be leaving the workforce to retire. And there was already going to be this huge demand for replacing them. Fewer are being produced in trade schools, and it just is a, it's a perfect storm. And we're beginning to hear now that many of these at-risk COVID workers are probably not going to be able to come back anytime soon, and it may actually usher many of them into retirement before anticipated time. So companies, I think, that are trying to rebound are really going to see even more challenge to ramp up in this arena of skilled trade. So companies are doing a lot of things now. Some of them are very good to try to solve the problem. But Brett, a lot of the solutions out there, while innovative, tend to be more medium and longer term in terms of scope.
Yeah, I mean, we work with what I would consider to be some pretty innovative companies, and almost a lot of them, I would say, they clearly recognize the problem, and I think the steps that they've taken, and they've all been good steps, as they started to recognize this growing gap. And you make a great point, Tim. They thought, up until COVID, they thought, well, we've got 5 to 7 more years until the baby boomer population is going to start to retire. And this problem that's really bad now, it's even worse if we don't start to go in solutions. So they're looking at a timeline of how they're going to work through this, and thinking they have 5 to 7. COVID, to your point, we have companies today that have furloughed for their people's safety, people over the age of 60. Well, we're already seeing, and we know that if you're 63 and you've been furloughed for 6 months, you may decide, I'm just not going back. And so it's expedited the potential. Now, some of them may all come, some of them may come back. They're not all coming back. Some may come back in that. But it's interesting because I think as companies, and I was one of those companies, I was in the manufacturing space for years, and I watched our HR organization. We had multiple manufacturing facilities, and I watched our HR organization double in size and cost, overhead cost, by adding talent managers, talent search, all of these internal recruiters. And I'm a living example. We were making very little impact in the areas that we needed. Now, we would find some laborers. We'd get in, we'd do more of this and that, and we'd find local laborers in a local pool. But as far as finding maintenance techs, electricians, I mean, they were failing miserably at it.
Yeah.
And so.
Yeah, my own experience. It was in a different domain, wasn't in manufacturing, but the living through the ramp up of HR departments, and yet struggling to find the people that I needed to execute my programs and projects. And we found that the most successful way to expedite getting quality people on the ground soon without having to go through all the hurdles of internal HR. And they do a great job. We're partners with HR, but the reality was I had to have multiple levers that I could pull to be able to bring people in to get a job done. And one of the levers that I found to be most successful for me was finding those agencies that I could work with to build a reputation with or a relationship with, that I could bring people in to augment my teams on a 3, 6, and sometimes permanent basis. But it allowed me to be able to move quickly to mitigate my risk and deliver the projects that I needed to be able to do and I was being held accountable for. So the same thing applies today. While we applaud those companies and we encourage and partner with them that are doing these innovative things with their HR department, talent searches, and all of that traditional hiring, nothing wrong with that. You got to keep doing that. But there's other things you really need to consider, maybe even if you haven't in the past, or if you have, you've had bad experiences with moving to this next season of life. And that's kind of what we bring, right, Brett?
Absolutely, yeah. Yeah, so, I kind of frame it up, I think the evolution of the talent search, has kind of evolved from expand your HR, do more internal talent recruiting, which we're in the midst of, even to the point where you're seeing some companies now look at that and go, are we really getting what we're paying for, or would we be better to take some of those resources and utilize, as you're indicating, Tim, somebody that this is all they do all day. I talking to a company earlier this morning, and we were having that exact conversation. I said, well, I can take 100 people, I can vet them through my process for you, which is pretty extensive, and you'll have 15 people on your desk to look at. If you want to keep doing it, you got to look at all 100. So if you've got time to look at the 85 that are not going to fit your need, that's a decision that you just have to decide if that's the best efficient use of your time. So I think people are doing that piece of it. And then the other piece, which is it's not just a feel good, it's a really good thing, is we're seeing companies partner with, especially in the skilled trade space, partner with the community colleges, really trying to get this emphasis back on vocational schools and getting a trade, learning a trade. And so they're partnering with those here locally where our corporate offices are. There's a program in this area called, I think it's called Dream It, Do It. And there's a lot of good companies here locally that have been part of that organization. And in essence, what it is they sponsor 2 to 5 scholarships. A young man or young woman coming out of high school can basically go into that program, come out with a trade, have a guaranteed job with this company, and it's great. I mean, I think it's a really good thing, and we would strongly encourage companies to do that because it's obviously a long-term play. But I think that's the indicator. I was watching a forum actually, a week or two ago, and they were talking about that, and they recognized, one of the companies that have been doing this for some time now, they said it's a long-term investment, and it could take 15 to 20 years. That's a common span of timeline that we hear companies talk about, in that the investment in the community college, the vocational schools, the getting young men and women to consider the trades, that because of the gap that we have today, that with some level of success of people accepting that, going into those roles, it's a 15 to 20 year solution. Well, we talk about it all the time. What you're really saying there, that's a tomorrow solution for a today problem. Most companies, I mean, I don't have 15 years to solve my problem. Now, that doesn't mean I should
I
stop
don't have
investing.
15 months.
Yeah. Sometimes 15 minutes. But it doesn't mean we're not promoting or saying you're wasting your time. Stop doing that. Absolutely not. What we're saying here today is, as an innovative leader, you have to look at this evolution from, okay, we're gonna grow our own talent search internally. We're going to try to solve that. You need to evaluate whether that's working. You're looking at this, okay, we're going to partner with the community college. We're basically going to grow up our own solution, which is great, but it's probably not going to happen fast enough to solve your problem, and it's probably not going to give you the amount of scale that you need. Plus, the reality is that person that you've now invested 4 or 5 years in is not guaranteed to stay with you, beyond whatever, you can't make them sign a lifetime,
Right. They're
work for
not
you.
in they're not indentured servants anymore. And in fact, statistics bear out that most people, the growing trend is that most people move around from job to job. So even though all of us, I mean, Brett and I included, our business, we want people to come work for us that we value to stay with us forever. And we'd love that, especially the ones that are great and we hire great people. But statistically, that's probably not going to happen. So, you have to look at a variety of ways. The smart business owner, the smart leader looks at a variety of ways to solve any problem, multiple courses of action to be able to get the objective accomplished. And there are, short-term, mid-term, long-term solutions you can pursue. And one of the things that came to my mind with that kind of the traditional approach is that there's a lot of not only cost but invested time and energy and effort when you bring somebody on in a traditional way and hire them to your company. But there's also a lot of risk that that you put there. If that individual walks away, all that sunk cost is gone, and you got to start back over. You got to kick the machine up again and start back over. Well, what we provide, our company, skilled primarily in the skilled trades, across all these different domains we spoke about, we do all that for you. So basically, you transfer the risk to us for your short to midterm staffing solutions. We take all that on. We find them, we bring them on, we hire them. Our model is they become our employees. We give them full benefits. We believe that solves a lot of the problems of traditional staffing companies, headhunters. Our employees don't have to worry about the benefits or where their next job's going to come or how long it's going to last. We take all that off the table so they show up and can work and focus on getting your job done. But if it doesn't work out, and we're not perfect, it may not be a good location, may not be a good fit, that individual, we just simply provide another opportunity for that individual to go to a place where they're a better fit and provide you as one of our clients a backfill as in very short order, because we do it very well, find, locate, and provide talent. So essentially, you alleviate the risk, the headache, the cost, and we transfer all that to us. You just focus on running your business.
Yep. Nope. That's right. So, I would say, kind of, as a kind of a last step in this process, as you look for that talent search, if you decide, we really do need, we need an outside staffing solution, maybe exclusively, maybe more likely as part of your as your solution. And I guess our kind of final point here would be, not all staffing solutions are created equal. That different staffing solutions have grown over the years based on different needs. And I think one of the challenges today is the temporary model and the headhunter model, which are by far the two largest, pieces of the staffing organization by headhunter. I mean, permanent to hire, type role. Most people are familiar with that term. And so both of those models, and there's some great companies that are out there, very large companies that do that. But you have to really go back and look at what were they really created for. The temporary model was created for, hey, I need an administrative person for a couple weeks, or they grew as manufacturing plants needed more laborers. They became a solution for that type thing. The headhunter model, for example, or the perm to hire, model, or permanent hire model, was really designed more around C-suite, sales executives, IT account, those kinds of roles. Those two categories, as you look at a staffing partner, they weren't designed to solve the skilled trade piece. They've gotten thrown into it because they were the only thing out there. But they tend to look, it's definitely in the temp, they tend to look local. They don't do much vetting, if any. and those type of things. And the headhunter model really wasn't designed around this either. So our space, what we would refer to as supplemental, which is similar to the travel nursing, is we're basically finding the talent, getting it to you for a supplemental, for a season. As Tim indicated earlier, they may be there for 3, 6, 9 months. They may end up being there permanently. But we find them, vet them, get them to you, specific, finding the right talent for the right opportunity, and providing that solution. It's a different model than maybe what you've traditionally looked at.
Yeah, one thing I'll just emphasize as we close here, that we borrowed from the travel nursing model. Is, in the nursing industry, most nurses or medical professionals come with certification. When you're getting an RN, an LPN, etc., they're certified. They've come through a certain amount of schooling. So an RN is an RN is an RN. In the skilled trade space, they are specifically, uniquely qualified to do a job, but there is not a comprehensive way to look at an electrician or a maintenance mechanic or a welder and be able to know exactly how qualified they are. So what we did, and we put some innovative and proprietary things in place to try to help us do that better, but we do a very, very thorough job of vetting and testing, both on a skills level and an aptitude personality level, to make sure that the people we show up fit your unique culture, your unique needs, and have the skills necessary. So that, and Brett, you mentioned on the temp model, they don't do a ton of vetting. We do. So many construction, manufacturing tend to have used temp support agencies in the past, and they probably have in their mind that people show up, don't know what they're doing. I don't know how many times we've heard that. And that's just not what we do. We work very hard to try to make sure you're getting quality, skilled professionals. So that's kind of a difference, another difference that I wanted to point out. So again, Brett and I could talk about this topic all day. It's near and dear to our heart. We focus on it. And I think we would be considered subject matter experts in the realm of skilled labor, supplemental skilled labor model. So hopefully today, this gave you something to think about as you're opening up your businesses and ramping up. Those problems are not going to go away. They're going to be coming back, and probably more challenging than ever in the next 1 to 3 years as we come out of this and expand. So I hope you got some things to dwell on today. If you'd like to reach out to us, ask more questions, get a conversation with Brett or myself or one of our folks here to talk about what we can do to help you address this issue. And, obviously, it's just a phone call. talk to us. We'll be glad to answer any questions you have. Reach out to us at skillwork.com. There's ways you can reach out there, and we'd love to have one of our professionals, or Brett or I, talk to you about what we can do to help your company. In the meantime, good luck opening up your business and finding the great workers you need to get things rolling again. Until next time, see you.